a 25% increase. We're going to bring it from 25% to 50%, the tariffs on steel into the United States of America.
We're diving deep into the trade shifts that are reshaping the world of cars in early 2025. The U.S. has imposed hefty tariffs of up to 50% on imported steel and aluminum, throwing the global automotive and manufacturing sectors into chaos. But as the dust settles, 7 nations have found new ways to keep their engines running, pivoting from U.S. supply chains to form fresh partnerships with Canada. 7. Brazil's shift to Canadian markets. In March 2025, Brazil's agricultural exports, including beef, soy, and ethanol, were hit hard by a 25% tariff from the U.S., threatening their annual beef export revenue of $12.8 billion. But Brazil wasn't about to stall out. By the end of March, it struck a $2 billion deal with Canada, rerouting beef to Alberta and Manitoba. This strategic shift not only preserved about 5,000 ranching jobs in Brazil, but also created 400 new roles in Canadian meat processing and 250 jobs in grain co-ops. Brazil didn't stop there. They expanded ethanol byproduct exports to China, further showcasing their trade agility. This proves that even in the face of tariffs, countries can adjust their routes and keep their economies running smoothly. 6. Mexico's auto parts detour to Canada. Next, let's talk about Mexico. When the U.S. imposed a 35% tariff on Mexican auto components, it hit Mexico's automotive heartland, particularly cities like Ciudad Juarez and Monterrey. But Mexico wasn't about to let this slow them down. In response, they forged an $8.2 billion deal with Canada, rerouting auto parts like suspension systems to Ontario's assembly lines. This partnership powered up production in Canadian cities like Windsor and Brampton, keeping the wheels turning for Mexican suppliers. Not only did this deal preserve jobs, but it also helped secure stability for both nations' auto sectors. However, Canadian officials were concerned about Chinese parts slipping through. 5. Australia's mining moves to Canada. Australia's mining sector, a crucial engine for its economy, hit a bump when the U.S. imposed a 30% tariff on iron ore and lithium exports. But Australia wasn't about to be left in the dust. In April 2025, they signed the Northern Stars Initiative, a $3.5 billion deal with Canada. This agreement redirected Australian iron ore to Canadian ports like Vancouver and Thunder Bay, helping Ontario's steel mills boost their output by 18%. Australia's lithium miners also teamed up with Canadian electric bus manufacturers, shifting battery-grade lithium carbonate to Ontario. This move preserved around 2,100 jobs in Australia and ensured that its mining industry would stay competitive. Australia's adaptability underlines the growing importance of raw materials in powering the automotive and energy industries worldwide. 4. France's green hydrogen partnership with Canada. France's hydrogen sector faced a significant setback in 2025 when a 30% U.S. tariff on hydrogen electrolyzers disrupted production. But France didn't hit the brakes. By April 2025, they inked a $1.2 billion hydrogen infrastructure pact with Canada. This agreement not only preserved 1,000 jobs in France, but also created 850 new jobs in Canada, training local workers to operate French-made electrolyzers. This partnership is a significant step toward France's grand vision of ramping up its hydrogen capacity to 4.5 gigawatts by 2030. Supported by a €4 billion program. The collaboration with Canada highlights the growing global interest in clean energy, with both nations focusing on hydrogen to fuel the future of transportation. 3. South Korea's battery supply switch to Canada. South Korea's battery industry was hit hard in 2025 when a 20% U.S. tariff on lithium-ion modules derailed their exports to major markets like California. But South Korea was quick to adapt. LG Chem and Samsung SDI signed a $1.7 billion deal with Northvolt Canada to reroute 500,000 battery modules to Canadian hubs like Windsor, London, and Hamilton. This pivot saved around 3,000 South Korean jobs while giving Canada's EV supply chain a significant boost. By mid-May, Canadian facilities had trained 350 new technicians in assembling precision Korean battery packs. This strategic move not only ensured the survival of the South Korean battery industry, but also helped Canada cement its role in the growing EV market. In addition, LG Energy Solution announced plans to build the world's first 4680 battery plant in Cheongdo in South Korea. 2. Denmark's green power surge into Canada. Denmark's renewable energy sector was also thrown off course in 2025 when a 30% U.S. tariff on wind turbine components halted many of their projects. But Denmark quickly adjusted, striking a $1.5 billion deal with Canada in April to reroute renewable exports to provinces like Nova Scotia and Saskatchewan. This move didn't just keep Denmark's turbines spinning, it also created 1,100 new jobs in Canada's renewable energy sector. Denmark's long-term plan is to double its offshore wind capacity, adding 3 gigawatts in fresh tenders, all while fueling global clean energy initiatives. This partnership shows how international cooperation in the renewable energy space is critical to combating climate change and advancing green technologies. 1.